Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's sustainability seminar for the audience here and for those listening online. My name is Nancy Holm. As most of you know, I'm Assistant Director here and the seminar organizer. For today's seminar, I just wanted to, after today's seminar, there's one seminar left in our series, which will be on December 4th. Information on that can be found on our website, or there's flyers outside the conference room here on the table. All of the seminars are broadcast live as well as archived on our ISTC website, and they're usually posted about a week after the original broadcast date. I would ask everyone now to please silence your cell phones if you haven't done so already. And then also we'll be holding questions to the end for the speaker. And for those online, we'll have you type in your questions at any time, and then we'll answer those at the end also. We're very pleased today to have as our guest speaker Nate Keener, who's Director of Sustainability for Lewis and Clark Community College in Godfrey, Illinois. Nate's background is in political science and sustainable development policy. He has a master's degree in environmental studies from the University of Illinois in Springfield, and he served as a program coordinator for the Illinois River Watch Network, a statewide volunteer stream monitoring program from 2011 to 2013. Since last February, he's led Lewis and Clark's efforts to achieve campus carbon neutrality by 2058. His passions are primarily in waste reduction, sustainable landscapes, and renewable energy. In 2011, he helped conduct a waste audit of Springfield's city water, light, and power properties and served on the Zero Waste Policy Roundtable. He has taken coursework in wildland firefighting, sustainable urban horticulture, as well as solar and wind site assessments. So with that, please join me in welcoming Nate here for his presentation on Lewis and Clark Sustainability Strategies for a Carbon Neutral Campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Kind of feel a little bit like the student lecturing the teacher here. I took a tour of the building and was just fascinated by everything you guys are working on here. So happy to be here today and share with you some of the things we're up to at Lewis and Clark Community College. Started off just a brief outline of what I'm going to talk about here today. I really packed this presentation full of basically everything we've done, and if I don't have time, I will skip a few things, but if people have questions, I'm happy to return to them at the end of the presentation if you want me to dive deeper into some of this. So we're going to look at just basically who we are, where we started with this sustainability journey, how it works, who it involves, kind of the key phases of development, and then how we're doing and some lessons that we've learned along the way. So Lewis and Clark Community College, if folks don't know, is in the Metro East region of St. Louis, so it's just north of St. Louis on the banks of the Mississippi River. So when I left there this morning, it was nice and sunny, and we didn't have this weather up here. We're in the deep south down there, so just to provide you a little geographic context of where we are. The campus itself is a historical campus dating back to 1838. It was founded by Benjamin Godfrey as a college for his daughters. He moved to the area in the 1830s and was a shipbuilder, and there are rumors that he had links to pirates, and he came to the area and there was nowhere for his daughters to get an education. He had 7 daughters, and so he built a women's college for them. And he went on to work with Lincoln to build some of the railroads down there, and he was a big public figure in Madison County. In 1970, it became Lewis and Clark Community College, and it's been named that since. It's a two-year college. We have multiple campuses and a river research center. We serve approximately 20,000 students annually, and that includes both our credit and our workforce development programs. It reaches into 7 counties, mostly rural, and covers 220,000 people. It adds $338 million in regional income annually, and it also serves as, it's a historical campus and also has a Missouri Botanical Garden signature garden. We have 42 associates and transfer degrees and 82 certificates. Our mission is to empower people by raising aspirations and fostering achievement through dynamic, compassionate, and responsible learning experiences. And so this is a snapshot of campus there from one side. It's taken from the roof of our nursing building. And so this is basically one half of campus, and it pretty much shows a lot of the historical buildings there. Over here on your left there is the main building that Benjamin Godfrey built back in the 1830s. And if anybody ever has a chance to come down, I would encourage you to. It's a really neat campus. And in the library of that building on the left is vaulted chapel ceilings that were built like the inside of a ship. And so it's a really neat structure. And that kind of brings me to some of the challenges. So at our campus, one of the challenges you'll see on this list is balancing history with efficiency. And you know, how do we come into the modern age while still protecting historical integrity of the area? We serve many rural counties, which means that we have lots of commuters. We serve a population, many of which are working full-time while also going to school, which can be a challenge for student engagement. That working population covers a broad age range. I work with students that are 18, freshly out of high school, and students that have retired from other careers and are coming back just to take other classes on the side. One other challenge to mention is that we are situated at the top of a watershed. So we have primary responsibility, I guess, primary input and responsibility for China Creek, which originates on our campus and feeds a couple of other creeks before hitting the Mississippi River. So it feeds the Piasaw Creek, which is another major stream down in our area and is also on the EPA's impaired waters list. So where did we start? This was an analysis. Maybe I should, actually I got those two slides mixed up a little bit. So start from the start. We started this sustainability journey around 2007. We signed the ACUPCC, the American Colleges and Universities President's Climate Commitment, and that spurred basically everything that came after it. We opened our Sustainability Center in 2008, and we penned the Climate Action Plan in that same year to meet the requirements of the ACUPCC. Later in 2008, our administration worked with the student government to approve a green fee that is assessed per student per credit hour and funds many of the operations of the Sustainability Center. We were one of the early partners founding IGEN in 2008, and we formed our Green Oversight Committee in 2009 and completed the first carbon footprint analysis in 2009 as well. And yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure. So IGEN is the Illinois Green Economy Network, and it's a consortium of community colleges that collaborate, share ideas, and come up with best practices for instituting sustainability on college campuses. They write and receive grants that they distribute to the other colleges, and we also do a lot of kind of bulk purchasing of sustainability products. So this was the Climate Action Plan baseline that we started with, and these bars from 2004 to 2008 show kind of a worsening situation in terms of carbon emissions. The bottom, the blue bar are your Scope 1 emissions. Those include campus fleets. The red bar is Scope 2 emissions, and that is exclusively our purchased electricity. And Scope 3 emissions are stationary combustion and student and faculty and staff commuting. So the Climate Action Plan we signed in 2008 sets forth a very long-term plan with the goal of carbon neutrality by 2058. I recently said that to a consultant that was in town, and he said, "Why 2058? Why not sooner?" But we felt that was itself an ambitious plan to achieve complete neutrality, and of course, job security for me, I guess. So we divide our Climate Action Plan into 6 major focuses. energy conservation, renewable energy, recycling and reuse, commuting and campus fleets, policy behavior, and education, outreach, and research. So the key players, the administration, we are led by a very forward-thinking and progressive president, Dr. Dale Chapman, and vice presidents and deans at the administration level, myself, and environmental education staff, and some very dedicated facilities and physical plant staff members. I work with faculty of all disciplines, and I try my hardest to get students involved as well. We have had 7 or 8 major action teams throughout the years, but the 3 that really do the most work on our campus are the Energy Task Force, the Green Fleet, and the Woodlands and Grounds committees. These are all subcommittees of our Green Oversight Committee, which is a collection of administration, faculty, and staff members that really provide oversight for our office. We meet twice a year to formulate goals, and personally I report out to them to just tell them what we've been up to and let them know that we are carrying forward that mission of carbon neutrality. I also included a bullet for scope. So we're looking at recycling and energy use and renewable energy sources and policy at these 4 different levels. So on campus, in the community, looking at careers, potential careers, and in the curriculum. So I've kind of broken this up into two major phases. The first phase I always call the low-hanging fruit phase, from kind of 2009 to 11, where we first started getting on board with sustainability and looking at what we could do. Our key partnerships during that phase were the Illinois Green Economy Network, ISTC. My office is actually right next to Mike Springman's, that I'm sure many of you know. The Regional Chamber of Growth Association in St. Louis has a Green Business Challenge that we participate in every year. Madison County Transit really helped us get some of our sustainable transportation options off the ground. And then, of course, one of the jewels of our sustainability efforts is the National Great Rivers Research and Education Center, which is a collaborative partnership between Lewis and Clark Community College, Illinois Natural History Survey, and the University of Illinois. So thanks for coming, all of our partners. So as I mentioned, the first phase was kind of the low-hanging fruit. I guess some of the first things that you look at when you start talking about energy efficiency and going green on campus. We did interior lighting upgrades and exterior lighting upgrades. We replaced VFDs on exhaust fans in 9 buildings. We replaced boilers from I think it was 79% efficient boilers up into the 90% efficiency. We put occupancy sensors in many of the major buildings in the hallways and classrooms, and we did night setbacks of the HVAC system to conserve energy. I mentioned INGRREC as one of the big pieces of this sustainability mission. It opened in 2010. It's situated right on the banks of the Mississippi River, within the levee, which is not normal for where buildings are up and down the river. It's the center's scholars and scientists study the ecology of big rivers, the workings of the watersheds that feed them, and the ties to the river communities that use them. So the idea here is that we're looking at ecology of big rivers. There are research stations that look at the major oceans of the world. There are research stations that look at lakes, but there aren't really research stations that were looking at big rivers at the time. And so the idea there was that they were going to walk the walk and while talking the talk of sustainability. So the building itself has a number of green features: 20% fly ash in the concrete, 99% recycled steel rebar, 95% recycled steel studs in the walls, insulation made of newspaper, floors made out of recycled rubber and soda bottles. IDOT's greenest road at the time. It was built in 2008 or 9 with pervious pavement, and we have 4 water systems that we try to use to minimize our use of the local utility water. So we've got, we're using municipal water in the sinks and the drinking fountains, but we're collecting 100% of the rainwater off of the roof. We're pulling river water directly from the river for use in our experiments, and missing a 4th water use here, but I'll think of it. The building also has energy efficient fume hoods for the experimentation going on in the labs. It uses local limestone on the outside facade to mimic the bluff structure along the river. And it has an award-winning green roof featured here. And we have energy dashboards that allow us to track daily, weekly, monthly, annual energy use in the building live. We have solar tubes that are here on this picture on the screen that you can see, and those collect the light and distribute it throughout the building. I think we have 55 of those in the building, and on most days it's enough light to operate. It also features LED downlighting. So some of the research we're doing, the Great Rivers Ecological Network, that is a buoy of that program. The idea there is that it can sit out in the river and collect water quality samples continuously without having to be pulled in. It's connected to the internet so that people can monitor that without having to go out and collect the sample. It's solar powered and runs continuously, and the plan is that there will be many of these located throughout the Mississippi River. The other picture here is our mesocosms. These cement structures are 6 feet wide, 6 feet deep, and 50 feet long. There's three channels, and the idea there is that we can pump water directly from the river into these channels to do experiments on flow and biology and different things. They even come with weirs that you can drop in to simulate different flow effects. And those are just now coming online. It's a big project that we were really excited to see come to fruition. So in that first phase, we also had some not so low-hanging fruit. Some of this, sometimes it's easy for me to think that the early stuff was the easy stuff, but they did a lot of pretty difficult stuff along the way too in that early stage. We put in solar PV on 2 buildings on campus, as well as solar thermal on our fine arts building. We blazed a woodland trail that goes through campus. We have a very large campus and several acres of woods on the grounds there that we blazed for that woodland trail. Instituted a recycling program, built our first eco road of pervious pavers, and got the cafeterias on board with pre-consumer waste composting, which is really just dehydrating. They have a dehydrating tumbler that all of the back of the house food goes into instead of into the trash. So here is kind of where we started. You can see that INGRREC came online about 2010 or 11, and so we were seeing some decreases in electricity usage. Up until that point, we see a spike, and then at the end here, you'll see where we've gone since then. I've got another slide for that. So then the second phase. Sometimes I just have to put the note out there that it's a lot easier for me to separate these because the second phase is when I got there. So it's harder for me to report on what happened before I got there. But since 2012, here's just another snapshot of the focus areas that we look at on campus. So on that first one, energy conservation measures, I mentioned the dashboards at the River Research Center. We also put dashboards in at the main campus. So we have 2 of these flat screen displays on campus. We have all the major academic buildings metered for electricity, and these just went online here earlier this spring. So here you can see 3 students using the dashboard. You walk up, it's a touch screen display. You can click on each building, and it'll show you the live readings of the energy use at each building. It also has here's a display of what you can see for these 7 or 8 buildings here. You can see the percent change over time, and that's been useful for building-to-building energy conservation campaigns, and even some of the reporting that I do to ACUPCC and other organizations. It has a map here that you can see. When you come to this screen, you can actually click on each one of these buttons, and it shows you a different green feature. So the other one showed our energy conservation. This is the green features map. So you can click through and see that we've got water bottle fillers and rain gardens and solar panels and these different kinds of things. On the renewable energy front, we have a number of projects that are either just finishing up or that we've done in the last year or so. We went to 100% renewable energy purchase through Homefield, and that is 95% wind that we're purchasing from them. We've done a couple of solar installations. So this one here you see is our 42 kW thin film installation. So we had 310 of these strips here that adhere to the roof. One of the problems that we've had that kind of comes back to that historical legacy versus efficiency and modernization is that a lot of our roofs weren't built to handle weight of solar panels, even though the newer panels can be pretty light. It just wasn't built to handle any additional weight, and so we've gone this route on the Trimpe building that instead of putting ballasted racks on there and weighing them down with a bunch of concrete, we're putting thin film directly adhered to the roof. So those are coming online right now, and we're integrating them into our dashboard. This is the second phase of that same project. We actually came in so much under budget on our thin film installation that the funders for this project, IGEN and DCEO, allowed us to complete a second phase, and these are our solar tracker units. We have a 6 kW monocrystalline installation and a 6 kW polycrystalline installation, and these actually follow the sun throughout the day. It increases the efficiency of these panels so that you're not just facing one direction all day and capturing the sun that you get. It actually traces the sun, so in the morning when I show up to work, those panels are facing the building. When I leave at night, they're facing the opposite way. And actually, we got some good information from a former ISTC employee here on just how useful those trackers can be. I had this as renewable energy, and then I didn't want to give anybody a heart attack, so I changed it to alternative energy. Our 5 kW fuel cell is actually powered by natural gas. It's a hydrogen-powered fuel cell. So a brief diagram of how it works. I know there's a lot of chemists here, and I would embarrass myself if I tried to get it into too much detail of explaining how this works. So we have it installed. It's from Clear Edge, and it's about the size of a refrigerator. And we're pretty excited to get that online. We've had some hiccups along the way, but we do have it, and we're just waiting to kind of turn it on. The idea here is that we will use the waste heat for our pool. We have a swimming pool on campus, and this is hooked up right outside that pool, and so it will provide energy for that building and also go to heat the pool. I also wanted to mention on our alternative energy, again, not renewable energy since we're using coal for these, but we do have 2 electric vehicle charge stations on campus and 1 at the River Research Center, and we're pretty excited about those, and we're right now looking into getting a DC fast charger. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, good point. I forgot about that when I did the slide. Yeah. So on the recycling and reuse, we conducted a waste audit in 2013. I should probably call that a waste characterization study. It wasn't a full-on waste audit. In fact, it was just me digging around in dumpsters. I actually went out at 1 in the morning to meet up with our custodial crew to grab all of the trash that they were pulling out of the buildings, and I pulled 10% of the waste out of every dumpster, and spent 15 hours the next day sorting through it. I was supposed to have a crew of people, but apparently digging through trash in the summer isn't fun for people. Whatever. So what we found was that approximately 30% of our waste on campus is being recycled. Fully 38% of the trash could have been recycled in the current system. 18% of it could have been composted. 22% of the trash was paper towels, and we don't have a solution for that yet. 25% of the trash stream was paper, and obviously we do have a solution for that. And 62% of the recycling stream was paper. We also found that 3 to 5% of the entire trash stream was composed of our nitrile gloves, and I just found out today that you guys have a pretty good program for that, so I'm glad just another reason I'm glad I came down here, that we can start working on another zero waste initiative. So there's a picture. Dirty job. Somebody's got to do it. Robin, my lone student helper, came out for like 3 hours and she dug through the trash with me. But other than that, it was me out there all day. I even broke the tent that I had that was going to provide me shade. It broke in the wind, and so I was out there in the sun sorting hot garbage all day. But I love it. So further on the recycling and reuse, we went from the old system of separating out your newspapers and your magazines and your printer paper and your cans and bottles and all these things. Finally went to our single stream program, and it's with Republic Services, and they're really great. Their messaging is always about containers and fibers. So that's the message that I spread on campus all the time when I'm doing outreach to our students and staff and faculty, is that you can recycle containers and fibers. One of the challenges here is that we've gone through so many evolutions of this program that it is hard to reset every time we switch to a new vendor or a new system. So we still have legacy bins around campus that say cans and bottles and paper, and so that's been a big challenge to try to come back. You know, we bought all these recycling bins, but what do you do once you don't have to sort them anymore? Well, you spend thousands of dollars to buy new recycling bins, or you can come up with inventive solutions, and that's what we're trying to do now. And I'll get to that. One of the things that we're trying to do is convert all those sorted systems back into some of our special streams, so printer cartridges and batteries. With some of the outreach we do on recycling, our student group is a big help. They go out and beat the pavement with their peers to teach them about recycling. I'll get to some of those activities in a minute. I do a lot of classroom presentations for our Intro to College courses. We actually have courses on the books for incoming students that just teach them what college is, what you do, and where to find the things that you need to know about on campus. So I do a presentation in front of all those classes every semester. We did an art of recycling contest where people made art pieces out of recycled materials, and we did a kick the can project where some of you guys have probably heard about these, where you convince people to give up their trash can and devote themselves to a recycling-only office. Help from our friends. We've gotten grants from Alcoa for new recycling bins, and we got 80 of those last year, so that was a big help. And we've had a lot of help from the public services in terms of donating dumpsters for cleanup events we've had, as well as getting us free outreach material coming out and talking with stakeholders. Oh, there's a picture of our Kick the Can event. We had 50 people give up their trash cans for a Christmas raffle that we were doing last year, and only 5 of them have requested the bins back, so that's good. Unless I walk in their office and they just got a pile of trash, but they're all good faith actors, so we're really proud of them for committing to that in their office. We do have some special stream recycling, and that's one of the things I'm trying to convert all of our sorted systems back into these streams here. So we've recycled 200 pounds of batteries in 2 years. We actually have to pay to dispose of those, so that's one thing I'm still trying to look for is a way that we can save some money on that. Our printer cartridge recycling program is a fundraiser for our student group, and so we get paid to recycle those printer cartridges, and my office is kind of a mess with printer cartridges because we have different people that will buy them, we have different people that we have to send them to, different vendors, and so we've got 6 or 7 vendors I think we use for this program, and we've raised $500 in the last couple of years to fund student club activities. We also recycle writing utensils with TerraCycle, and we've done 7 or 8 e-waste drives over the last couple of years and recycled over 80 tons of e-waste. New just this year is the post-consumer waste composting. We are very fortunate in our area that we have a valet service that helps us out called Always Green Recycling. They deliver those green bins there. They sit in our cafeteria, and we can compost all the post-consumer waste there. And our hauler also hooked us up with this good guide of what you can and can't compost. They actually come and pick up the bins every week and provide us new ones, and they take them back and wash them out so they can redeploy them next week. And so it's a really great service that really takes a lot of the hassle out of it for us. And the fact that they're so attentive to the program means that we don't have a lot of the problems with the smell as you might think otherwise. After instituting the composting program, started as a pilot program during Earth Week, and then we went to full implementation the next month after allaying the fears of some of our stakeholders on campus that it would be a huge smell problem or a huge organizational problem. We quickly convinced them that the project itself was fine, so we went to full program in May and got the silver level partnership through the Illinois Food Stamp Program. So transportation and fleet. One of the things you might have seen on the Climate Action Plan baseline is that our two biggest sources of emissions from campus are purchased electricity, but that is actually eclipsed by students, staff, and faculty commuting. So as a two-year campus with a working population, no residence halls, most of our emissions come from people driving to and from campus. So that's by far the biggest challenge that we have in terms of meeting sustainability. Not only are they all driving to campus and working afterwards, but they come from 7 different rural counties. So Madison County Transit actually only serves 2 of those counties. And so one of the big issues that we're still grappling with is how do we get some of these rural folks to utilize alternative transportation. So we've got the Ride Finders program. I don't know if that's something that reaches up here, but it's basically a service that you plug in your travel times and destinations, and it tries to find carpool partners for you. We've had some success with that, but you know, when you live out in the rural areas, you know, sometimes you might have availability to give people rides, but you have to drive an extra 40 miles. So we're always still looking for better solutions here, but one of the good programs that we have is called the Green Pass. So the way the Green Pass works is that folks that utilize an alternative form of transportation, whether it's carpooling, riding their bicycle, taking the bus, taking the train, I guess, or driving an electric or hybrid vehicle, we enroll them in the Green Pass program. And once a month for 3 months during each semester, we hook them up with either a gas card, a bus pass, or a meal ticket. Trying to find a better incentive than a gas card, but knowing that carpooling is helping us out, we want to reward them in some way to further incentivize them showing up. So one of the things I've experimented with is a farmer's market coupon, which is great, but the farmer's market runs when school's not in session. So we're still trying to find a better solution there. One of the ideas we have is to try to work with the bookstore to, you know, they have a kind of a cafe / convenience store in there. That's kind of another idea we're kicking around, is maybe we can use that in there. But so the people that participate in this program have saved over 500,000 miles in the last 3 years. And one of the other requirements of that program, you know, they have to utilize an alternative transportation. They have to tell us how many miles they're saving so we can include that in our emissions report. And then they have to attend or volunteer for an event either on campus or in the community having to do with sustainability. So we really drive a lot of attendance for the activities we do with this program. Another issue we're working on is bike trail connectivity. We're working with Madison County on that to try to connect many of the trail systems in the county. We actually have a bike trail that comes right up to campus, but where you go from there is a little difficult. And so a lot of densely populated areas, a lot of traffic that we're trying to figure out how to get around there. We're right now working on getting a bicycle club off the ground as well. So one of the things that I would like to add to our climate action plan in the coming years is something about landscapes and water. We don't have that in our official plan, but we do a lot of work in this area, especially because we have motivated faculty in a program that lends itself directly to sustainability. So here's a picture actually from just a couple weeks ago. That's the coordinator of our restoration ecology program, and we received a grant from Illinois American Water to put in a bioswale at one of our parking lots. And so we invited Alt Middle School out for a day of planting native plants. They actually have an area on their campus that is a water management problem. They would like to install a bioswale of their own, so they came out to see how it's done. And so we purchased all the 12 tons of rock and all the landscape fabric and erosion control materials. A lot of these plants we purchased, but we also grew a lot of these in our greenhouse, all native grasses and shrubs. And so that was our most recent project. We have also done a lot of work to put these bottle fillers in, so to avoid waste of plastic bottles. A lot of people are scared of drinking tap water, and so these are filtered water, so it's just like they're getting it out of the bottle. Naturally, I definitely mentioned that we have a grant with ISPC to do water audit training at colleges throughout Illinois, and we conducted the introductory webinar for that on October 21st, and looking at early February, doing a couple of trainings in Illinois, inviting community college stakeholders to come and learn how to conduct a water audit on their own campus, with the idea that the recommendations from that audit then will help further the goals of the village county. With our restoration ecology program, we're trying to incorporate some of the sustainable sites initiative concepts. So sustainable sites, if you're unfamiliar, is kind of like beams to the outside of the building, the landscape around it, and it has to do a lot with water management. So that's why I put it on this slide. With the main focus being that keeping, treating, and managing stormwater and wastewater on site. We also just installed algae blasters, and these are units that are placed in our ponds and help to control algae. So they emit again, I don't want to try to pretend to be technical with all you guys here, but it emits a sonic pulse that actually disrupts the growth of algae. And we have yet to see how useful those are in controlling algae. We just put them in, but we're excited to see how those work. We recently got a grant, a pretty substantial grant from the Illinois EPA for the Illinois Green Infrastructure Grants Program to redesign a parking lot on campus, replace the asphalt pavement with pervious pavers and pavement plantings, as well as to put in a radiating glazed bioswale. It's an above-ground bioswale that shows how water moves through a system. So it has a number of stone weirs that it moves the water from stage to stage until it reaches its final destination in China Creek. There's a bigger overhead map of it, so the water will come off of our parking lot. Some of it will come off of our parking lot into this structure, and people will be able to see how it moves through that system, and we're planning on using it as an educational tool for our restoration ecology and stormwater management program. We also do, from our Woodlands and Grounds Committee, another topic that's not exactly captured by our climate action plan. We have done a lot of work with restoration ecology and turf grass alternatives, so we have a number of parking lot islands on campus that are planted and maintained just for turf grass and really no other use. And so the idea was, why are we mowing a 12 by 15-foot island in the middle of the parking lot? We're wasting energy, we're wasting money, and we're wasting gasoline. So right now we're running experiments on, I think, 4 of these plots to look at different alternatives to your fescue, like buffalo grass, something that you wouldn't have to maintain as much. We do a number of invasive species removals on campus to maintain our woodland trail. Honeysuckle is a huge problem on our campus, and so we go out there with the loppers and with our Green Pass voluntold program, and we chop down honeysuckle every year and feed them pizza to make it worth their while. We keep up that trail maintenance. In fact, it's approximately a 1.5 mile loop around the woodland area of campus. I mentioned the bike trail. We got a grant back in 2007 to build that, to connect our campus to the trail that is maintained by the Village of Godfrey. We do a number of prairie plantings. There's one of them that we're doing with the black-eyed Susan. We've got a couple of other plots on campus where, again, we're realizing that in 20, 30 years, if you're spending money and gasoline and water to maintain something that is just turf and that doesn't provide much value, then people are probably going to think you're crazy. So we're trying to convert as much of that idle turf to useful ground. And so we've got a number of prairie plantings, bioswales, and those kinds of things. We do prescribed burns on campus. We've done, I believe, 3 of them already, and every time we've tried to do it, it's been too cold or wet. And so we keep certifying people. We're working with DNR to conduct wildland firefighting training, and we go out there and play with fire and don't have much effect. But we're going to keep at it, and one of these days we're going to have a really good burn. But we do have a really good picture, at least. So this is last year when we did the burn the day before Thanksgiving, and started a lot of fires that didn't cover a lot of ground there. So there's a picture of a couple of our students with the DNR instructor and then the Godfrey Fire Department there on hand to make sure we're doing everything safe. On the policy side, I mentioned the Green Action Plan. The Climate Action Plan and the Green Fee. Those are the 2 major policy commitments we've made on campus. But we also make a number of other commitments to outside groups, third-party entities to kind of keep us in check. So I mentioned ACUPCC. We're also a member of the ACC program, the Regional Chamber of Growth Association. Department of Energy has a workplace charging challenge that we signed on to earlier this year to promote putting EV chargers at places people work. It's a pretty simple concept that your car spends 8 hours sitting outside of where you work, so you may as well charge it up while you're there. My boss, the president of the college, has an electric vehicle, and people know where he parks at the EV charger, and he lives less than 10 miles away, so he almost never has to fill up his car with gas. That's huge. Not even fully electric. So, we also signed on to the GCA Green Power Partnership as a result of our Green Power purchase. We are a member of USCBC, and our architecture program works with them a lot. And I mentioned we just joined the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition. A number of other policies that might seem a little minor are right of first refusal and recycling of scrap materials whenever we have construction projects on campus. It allows us to make sure that those materials are dealt with responsibly. Some of the key grants we've received, I mentioned the IEPA grant for approximately $640,000. We also have a Department of Labor Trade Adjustment Assistance grant managed through IGEN that helped us build our smart grid technology and stormwater management programs. It also funded the purchase of a number of pieces of equipment like a smart grid home automation system, a solar and wind trainer, and a fuel cell trainer. I'm sorry, fuel cell trainer is coming out of the IGEN Smart Grid Classroom grant project. That was $40,000. So we have the DOL grant and the IGEN Smart Grid grant both help to build our Smart Grid program. The eventual goal of that program is that we're going to have a Smart Grid classroom that we're calling the Alternative Energy Production Center, where we will teach the Smart Grid program, teach classes in real time, have on-site trainers as well as functional technology, solar, small wind, micro turbines, fuel cell, and ice banks and battery storage. I mentioned the solar panels. That came from DCEO Renewable Energy Resources Portfolio Grant, and that was for $170,000. The Illinois American Water Grant was for $2,300, and the Alcoa Grant was for 75 recycling rates. And of course, I also mentioned the ISPC grant to do the water audit. So one of the great things about the Green Fee is that I'm able to obtain these grants because of that commitment from the students. And I spend a lot of my time talking to students about their commitment and how all of these projects come from them. Without that Green Fee, I wouldn't be able to leverage their commitment to get these. So on the outreach and education side, here's another shameless plug for me. I'm a ham, so I have a lot of pictures of myself on here. We have a number of fronts on outreach and education. The National Great Rivers Research and Education Center has the annual water festival. We bring 500 fifth graders out for a day of education about water. Everything from using water, conserving water, different projects in Africa and South America to bring water to impoverished communities. They have the River Watch program that I used to manage, and it's a citizen science program that teaches people to go out in their local creeks and streams and collect macroinvertebrates that we can use as a bioindicator for the water quality there. The River Watch program conducts river cleanups from time to time. This is a picture of us doing one in, I think, 2012 in Mahomet, just down the road from here. We collected, I think, 80 tires, and then that dumpster full of all that stuff, and there's a water heater there. So I don't know why I love digging around in garbage so much, but passion of mine. On the research front, this is just a small sampling of what they're doing there at the research center in Japanese hop control, Asian carp control. I mentioned Great Rivers Ecological Observatory Network, and then we're actually working with ISPC on a small nitrate sensor that you can plug into your smartphone, and so that will be used in a citizen science program. The volunteers will go out and collect water samples and analyze them on their smartphone. Tomorrow, actually, INGRREC is having an education symposium in Alton to kind of talk about environmental water education. The keynote speaker for that is Chad Pergracki of River Cleanup fame. So if you guys are interested tomorrow, come on down, give you a tour. The Student Sustainability Association has been a really proud organization for us. They were founded in 2012. We had one guy that was really interested in it, and I was really interested in trying to get the student involvement increased, and he really helped me found it. He couldn't help get anybody else in the door, though. So through Green Pass and through the leadership of our last two presidents, they've really helped to beef up the status of that program to where now we have 7 to 10 actively engaged students per semester, like at all times working on it, and then we always have the additional 10 folks that are there for the Green Pass program, and some of them fall asleep in the back of the room, but we always manage to get a couple people fully on board and engaged and excited about what we're doing on campus. So I'm really proud of this group. They receive scholarships for their work on campus, and they really lead the effort on Recyclemania, which is a national recycling competition. They helped us in our Campus Conservation National competition, which was an energy reduction campaign. They lead our native plant sale on campus, so every year in April we sell native prairie plants, mostly like I said, flowers, shrubs, grasses. But we've also, for this coming year, we've adopted the vegetable sales too. So they help to grow those in the greenhouse and then sell them to people on campus. And at the end of that, whatever they haven't sold, we usually donate to a community group. Last year we donated to the Downtown Alton Street group and helped us beautify the downtown area with native planting. They lead our campus sustainability day every October, and they really helped me with our Earth Week push every issue. So here's a couple pictures. Our President Johan with our printer cartridge recycling. We did a organic farm work day. We took eight students out to Riverbend Roots in Godfrey. They are a local farm, and we planted, I think we're planting zinnias there, which was really cool. I actually got to buy a bouquet of those flowers later on in the year, and they were just the prettiest flowers you could ever see. There's Johan again, teaching folks about composting on campus. There's Johnny, one of our non-traditional students with our native plant sale. Mentioned these two, but I'll get into a little more detail here. We're really struggling with Recyclemania. We're still at less than 1 pound recycled per person, and but that's actually double what we started. So it is progress. We've still got a long way to go on that. Campus Conservation Nationals was, I mentioned, an energy reduction competition. We got second place out of 12 schools in the iGen school. That put us in the 20th percentile nationwide, so we were towards the top there, and that represented an 8.8% reduction in energy over the competition period. We got grant money on that to buy smart strips for some of the classrooms in the buildings that we were focused on. During Earth Week, we have a number of projects that we do. We participated in the 2 Billion Green Pledge Challenge to get folks to pledge their commitment to a certain green action. We did the plant sale. We held an Earth Week movie. We did a green business breakfast where we invited businesses out to talk sustainable strategies. We had an e-waste drive, an open house where we gave the public a tour of our sustainable features, a wind and solar demonstration. I'll show you a picture of in a second. Organic farm workday, invasive species removal, and the art contest. Here's some pictures of that. Our art contest, third place winner had pens and pencils, and she made a microphone out of it. Our College for Life program made a radio out of recycled bottles, and the winner here, she did a sculpture made out of recycled paper and honeysuckle. So it's a sculpture of owls in a tree made out of a branch of a honeysuckle which she pulled out of the ground to help us during our species removal. Here's the wind solar demonstration. So the wind kit there was a kit that we bought, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. The solar panel there, I had a student that was interested in building one of these, and so we sat down and ordered all the pieces off Amazon. I think it cost us $140. We ordered all those, the individual, who's the name for it, but the panel there, bought all the pieces, and he soldered all the pieces together, made the frame out of plexiglass that we bought at Lowe's, and these holding it together are actually the binder clips, and used PVC pipe as the frame, and then we hooked it into a bilge pump at the bottom of this recycling bin, and he made a pipe out of the PVC for that, and so it's kind of an eternity fountain. As long as the sun's shining, it powers that pump, and the water comes out and comes back in. We use that as just demonstration of how the technology works for folks. There's another picture. Max, the guy there on the right, is the one that built it. He's explaining how it works to this gentleman here. And I always have to show that picture. Everybody loves that picture of our native plant sale, and the daughter of one of our employees was impressed with the plant. EV road trip was a project that we did over the summer to highlight that the electric vehicles come a long way in the last several years, and the point of this project was to show that range anxiety should be on its way out the door. We have drastically increased the range of electric vehicles, and our network of placing chargers throughout the state is increasing to the point where we demonstrated that you can drive from one end of the state to the other. So we started at John A. Logan College in Carterville, and we drove a series of 36 electric vehicles to community colleges along the way that had EV chargers, and we drove all the way up to College of Lake County in north of Chicago. And the reason we used so many electric vehicles was that the point was to show that you could get from one place to the other with the existing range of the car, but with the acknowledgement that to do it in one car would take many days. You have to stop and charge. So that was also a point of it too, though, was to show that we have all these chargers. Now we need to get fast charging, because those you can get most of your charge in half an hour or an hour. So coming out of that, we had 11 colleges participate. We drove over 500 miles. Because of the project, 3 new chargers were installed. 2 of those were donated. We got 8 colleges to sign on to the Department of Energy Workplace Charging Challenge. We were in national newspapers, and the Chicago Tribune, the San Francisco Gate, and a magazine. I think it was Fashion Magazine we were in. And we had 1 special guest. So Abe, Mini Abe, I don't know if you guys have seen the ad campaign for Illinois. He joined us for the ride, and with a good photo op for a lot of the stuff we had. Wanted to mention our community partnerships and outreach. So everything you just saw there was mostly campus. Now we're talking community, curriculum, and career. So we work with iGen, ISGC. We present at environmental fairs. We work with community groups. Sometimes I have to walk that line of am I at work or am I not at work? So I work with Sierra Club on our Godfrey Cool Cities. So that's me as a personal private citizen. We had the Green Business Association that we work with. I'm on the Water Technical Advisory Group, and they're from here, U of I, the Green Business Association. We have a local group called the Green Business Alliance that I work with to bring sustainable strategies to local businesses. We participate in the local food hub that is just now getting started, and part of that is a grocery store. We also work with Fulton Main Street, Sierra Club, and the local nature. Last couple slides here. I mentioned the Trade Adjustment Assistance Grant that helped us build our stormwater and smart grid program. Our Restoration Ecology program graduated in the first week last semester, and we do have 2 solar install courses right now. We did in careers, we did a 16-week seminar on green careers last year, where every week we invited a representative from the green industry to come out and talk to students about what they do, how interested students can get involved. Here's a picture of one of those. So, finally, how have we done? So you can see the slide from before showed that we had a spike in 2011 as that new building came on. We started to level out finally in 2012, and then in 2013 we've really cut our emissions on campus. Now, a lot of that is a result of the decrease in purchased electricity, increase in renewable energy on campus, but one of the caveats I also have to mention is that some portion of our reduction in student, staff, and faculty commuting emissions is as a result of increased efficiency of vehicles. We're trying to suss out right now exactly how much is due to alternative energy, alternative practices, and how much is due to but on the main campus, we've seen a 10.5% reduction in electricity use, 43% reduction in student commuting, 6% reduction in faculty commuting, and a 32% reduction overall in emissions. We've received the 2011 and 2013 Governor's Sustainability Award, the U.S. Water Prize, the Green Roof Award, RCGA Circle of Excellence. Last month we got the Care for Air Award, and we have been recognized at the gold level for the Governor's Campus Sustainability Compact. So there's a picture of me receiving the award with Dave Thomas and Eric Ryan from the Governor's Office. Our future plans, new solar. I mentioned the Alternative Energy Production Center. We're looking at a new greenhouse, even botanical status as a whole campus. I'd like to pursue zero waste. I'd like to incorporate that into our recycling and reuse and our climate action plan. A water policy that will hopefully result from our work with ISTC on the water audit, and furthering our sustainable sites initiative. What have I learned? Promote champions. So I try as hard as I can to not get in the way of the people that have the enthusiasm and have the ideas, and I find that rather than trying to bribe faculty or bribe students or twist their arm to do things, that I should spend more of my time working with the people that are already engaged and already have the ideas and really promote them. Kind of the same vein, let the leaders lead. My first year with the student group, I was the spoiler all the time, and so now I'm trying my hardest to step back and say, you know, even though we've tried that exact same idea six years in a row, we're going to let you go ahead and try that again. Sometimes you got to do that to let them know that they're in ownership of this project. Communicate and seek input with sustainability. You got to get everybody involved, and sometimes it's hard to imagine who everybody involved. So one of the struggles that I had early on was receiving phone calls from people saying, I didn't know you were doing this. So now I have to check myself every project we started. What's the exhaustive list of who cares and who doesn't? That's something I'm still working on. Unless you try, I can spend a lot of time overthinking things and second-guessing myself, but sometimes you just got to go out there and pour 12 tons of rock on something and lay down some landscape fabric and get out yourself. So, things I'm still learning. When is forgiveness better than permission? We have a lot of closed projects that happen on campus and then get demolished immediately after. So I'm trying to find that balance of when do I ask for forgiveness or when permission. how do I reach these kids? I can bribe them and all these things, but still trying to overcome the difficulty of a working population, broad age, trying to get them to show up. Hard to meet in the middle of the day, hard to meet at night, so my challenge. How to harness without stifling creativity. I mentioned I sometimes play the role of spoiler, and I choose to really working on that. When to say no, taking on way too many projects, and still trying to stem that flow. So I mentioned who cares and who doesn't. Sometimes I pull people into meetings and they don't care. But you got to make sure that everybody wants to be involved. So thank you. It's a picture of our first year of sustainability in 2008. We had a couple hundred students come out and take this picture for us. So I'm happy to field any questions. I know I've answered them along.
Thank you. So we'll take any questions here with our audience here. Does anyone have
So is that fuel cell, is that an SOFC, or do you know what type of fuel cell?
Beyond the that it's hydrogen powered and that it feeds from our natural gas, it's made by Clear Edge, and that's about all I know. I'm happy to follow up for you.
any other questions here?
I was just curious what kind of advice you would give another community college or organization that was starting to plan for sustainability. What do you think are some of the keys that can help them kick off massive?
Well, I think we're really fortunate where we are that we kind of met in the middle from a very committed and progressive administration and a student body that was also willing to commit to the cause. So I think working both of those angles is a good thing to do. Try to meet enthusiasm from both sides in the middle. Also, one of the things I probably should have had on that still learning slide is metrics. I find that I spend so much time running around trying to keep up with the projects that are in the air that sometimes those metrics can really fall by the wayside. And so make sure to save time for that. I can, every year we have to report to ACUPCC. It seems like I started a month late. So those are probably the two biggest pieces of advice I'd give. And I think I mentioned the other ones a little bit too on the last couple of slides. That the stakeholders. That's something that when I went to school, learning about sustainability, they really hammered the stakeholder thing. And you think you have it, and then you start working with people, and you realize that it's really hard. That just knowing who to call to ask if they're interested is sometimes a daunting task. So those are the three pieces I think are most important.
Are there questions online?
Yeah, it's just one question. First of all, congratulating you on your talk, and then saying, are you using any of your Green Initiative programs in recruiting students and prospective faculty and staff?
So I think if I understand the question, are we getting students from related programs to help out with other projects on campus? Is that kind of how I get that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually we, not even just the academic programs, we've kind of become a local hub of information for all of recycling, and we definitely drive a lot of recruitment through our restoration ecology program. We're in the news quite a bit about that. And in terms of the renewable energy, yes and no. We get a lot of interest in those programs, but right now we're still building those programs, so the bite for people to take them isn't quite there yet, but that's something that we're building every day.
So I think with that, we'll conclude today. And thanks very much again, Nate, for your presentation. And we'll hope to see the rest of you or have the viewers online for our December 4th seminar. Thank you very much.